Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Micah. You guys are rocking with me on Micah's Intellectual Corner. On today's episode, we're going to be rocking with another Kings and Generals Mongols series, The Fall of Khwarezm, something like that. But so just so that you guys know, I was supposed to be doing a Isaac Arthur video today, but I lost the comment of the recommendation that I was supposed to be doing, and he has a lot of videos and they are very, very long. So I wanted to make sure that I actually got the right one down, just so I'm not doing a random one. With that being said, if you do want me to react to Isaac Arthur, please comment down below which video you want me to. With that being said, let's go and get right into it.
This video was sponsored by The Great Courses Plus. Go to thegreatcoursesplus.com today to start your free trial.
Alright, so now, real quick, from what I can remember from the last video, they just got the Mongol horde. Obviously, we went through all the unification of the Mongols and all that, and they just got finished conquering the northern part of China, if I'm not mistaken, at least a little bit of it. And now they're, I guess, looking westward. So let's go ahead and see what's about to happen, guys.
The establishment of the Mongol state and the subjugation of both Xixia and the northern part of the Jin domain in China would have satisfied many conquerors, but Genghis Khan was just starting. His sights were now set on the lands to the west. A number of relatively small events gave the Mongols a reason to attack the neighboring empires. The massacres in China would pale in comparison to the bloodbath Central Asia and Iran would endure during the Mongol invasion.
And if I'm not mistaken, they're just like the massacres that we witnessed in northern China. It's just on a much larger scale, because I think one, the disrespect is much larger, and two, the cities as a whole are kind of bigger too. So let's see though.
The Naimans were one of the tribes defeated by Genghis Khan in 1205. After the defeat, the prince of the tribe, Kuchlug, fled to the west. In 1208 he was defeated by Genghis yet again and found refuge in the nearby Western Liao Empire. He was welcomed and even married the daughter of the emperor Zhiligu. 2 years later, Kuchlug rebelled against his father-in-law and took control of the empire. In 1216, Kuchlug attacked the city of Amalek, which was under Mongol protection. Genghis Khan sent his best general.
Yeah, it was seen that Kuchlug is a horse. Observes exactly what's coming to him via the Mongols. So let's go ahead and see what happens, guys.
Under Mongol protection. Genghis Khan sent his best general, Jebbe, who defeated Kuchlug in the Battle of Balasaghun, and in 2 years, the entire empire was under Mongol rule. Now they were bordering the great Khwarezmian Empire that was ruled by a Persianized Turkic dynasty.
Isn't that crazy though? Within just not even a decade's time, they already control a size portion of the world, about, I feel like, roughly the size of the U.S. within a decade. That is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Let's get back to it. Okay.
An empire that was ruled by a Persianized Turkic dynasty. Genghis Khan sent a caravan with precious gifts to Shah Muhammad II, hoping to establish trade. However, the governor of the Khwarezmian city of Otrā, Inalchuk, had the members of the caravan arrested, claiming they were spies. Genghis Khan then sent 3 ambassadors to the Shah himself to demand the merchants be set free. Muhammad refused. The merchants, along with one of the ambassadors, were executed. The rules of hospitality, which Genghis Khan considered sacred, were broken.
So yeah, now we can see why, the disrespect is like super real here, because like, not only did he arrest people who didn't even need to be arrested, he killed people who didn't even need to be killed. So like, the disrespect is too real, and that's why we see the massacre on the scale that we see it. So
hospitality, which Genghis Khan considered sacred, were broken, and he started planning his retribution. He gathered information from the Silk Road about his enemies. assembled siege engineers from China, and created a plan involving separating his army into 3 columns. The numbers for both sides are highly disputed, but most scholars agree that at the start of the campaign, the Mongols outnumbered the Khwarezmian forces with 100,000 against 60,000.
Well, and that makes sense, because usually, I mean, that's, I say about the normal Mongol army number, I think is about 100,000 throughout the entire conquest and of everything, if I'm not mistaken, but yeah.
With 100,000 against 60,000. In the winter of 1219, Genghis Khan sent his oldest son Jochi and Jebe to cross the Tianshan mountains to ravage the fertile Ferghana Valley with around 20,000 men. It was risky, but paid off, as they slipped through the defensive lines and confused the enemy, who thought this was the main force. Meanwhile, another army under his second and third sons, Chagatai and Ogedei, passed through the Zungarian Gate with haste and besieged Otrar, which had a garrison of 20,000. After 5 months, a deserter opened the gates and allowed the Mongols into the city. Otrar became the first of many settlements to have its entire population slain or enslaved before it was razed to the ground.
Well, first of all, that traitor, I mean, I don't see how people do that, you know, throughout history. Like, you just traded on your entire family, everything. I mean, I don't know. But with that being said, can you imagine all the other cities and how afraid and scared they must be, you know, being either enslaved or just chopped up like it's nothing, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is almost an apocalypse, if you think about it. But I guess that was the reason for the entire thing in the first place, so otherwise we wouldn't have had it in the first place. So.
Population slain or enslaved before it was razed to the ground. Inalchuk was captured and reportedly had molten silver poured into his eyes and ears. Muhammad II was preparing a strong defense around his capital, Samarkand, but Genghis tricked him by traversing 300 miles across the Kizilkum Desert, which was considered impassable, hopping from oasis to oasis. The Mongols found themselves at the gates of Bukhara. The city's defences were weak, so the desperate defenders tried to sally out and meet the Mongols in open battle, where they were massacred en masse. Next came the Khwarezmian capital of Samarkand. The Mongols closed in during March of 1220.
Yeah, you can almost say that Muhammad II kind of brought kind of escapable apocalypse onto his kingdom. Kind of really seems almost hopeless at this point, you know?
The Mongols assaulted the city and its 40,000-strong garrison, using prisoners as meat shields. On the third day, the garrison launched a counterattack. Feigning retreat, Genghis drew approximately half of the garrison, including war elephants, outside of the fortifications of Samarkand and slaughtered them in the open fields. Shah Muhammad II attempted to relieve the city twice, but was driven back. On the 5th day, all but a handful of soldiers surrendered. The city's inhabitants, numbering around 100,000, were slaughtered.
Now remember, they only killed the entire inhabitants whenever the city's, army put up a fight. That's the only time they did that. Otherwise, they'd spare them. So we gotta keep that in mind too.
100,000 were slaughtered. The Shah and his son managed to escape to the west, so Genghis Khan ordered his generals Subutai and Jebe to hunt them down with a force of around 20,000. The legendary expedition of this army deserves its own episode and will be covered soon. After finishing the destruction of Samarkand, Genghis Khan moved against the wealthy city of Urgench from the south, while his son Jochi attacked it from the north. Despite the stout defense, the city was taken, but that created a new complication for the Mongols. Jochi was given the right to loot the city for himself, but preferred to negotiate with the locals to avoid property damage, while his brothers, who disliked him, argued against this unusual behavior.
I think Joji was just trying to be a good leader and was probably just tired of seeing all the destruction of something that was supposed to be their empire anyway. You know what I'm saying? Like, how maybe he was thinking, how can we build an empire if our empire isn't here? You know what I'm saying? Maybe, I don't know. But that's just not how the Mongols did stuff, so.
Argued against this unusual behavior. Genghis removed his oldest son from command and appointed his third son Ogedei in his stead, who in turn ordered the city to be destroyed. This decision would have a significant impact on the Mongol Empire in the following decades, as it forever alienated Jochi from the rest of the family. While Urgench was being destroyed, Tului, Temujin's youngest son, took 50,000 men into the region of Khwarezm. He occupied and razed the cities of Balkh, Merv, and Nishapur in rapid succession. Herat surrendered and was spared.
Yeah, see, exactly like how I was saying, usually if you didn't put up a fight, you were good. But then, I don't know, then again, still, like, say if it was me and my family was in that city, I would have still, after seeing everything that was happening, I'm like, this is an apocalypse. If we stay in the city, we're going to die. Me and my family are going to die, so I have to get us out somehow. Go to the next country over or something, I don't know.
Surrendered and was spared, as was any other city that surrendered without a fight. The Mongols couldn't control such a vast population, so they used practical brutality as their primary method to subjugate a nation. The massacres were committed without religious or cultural reasons, and they wanted everyone to know it, as a method to prevent resistance. Until now, the Mongols never allowed their enemy to raise an army, using psychological warfare and picking off smaller parties. Also, they were never at one spot all at once. While a city was besieged, another army was patrolling and
I'm thinking there has to be another time in before this that they went up against a big army, or at least an army of their size, in like an open battle, at least with whether it be between two Mongol states or I don't know, maybe. But probably, obviously not though, because
Another army was patrolling and pillaging the countryside. The son of Muhammad, Jalal al-Din, managed to recruit an army of Turkic and Afghan warriors numbering 60,000, which was not expected by the Mongols. As soon as news of this reached Genghis Khan, he sent an army of 30,000 men, led by a Tatar nobleman, Kutaku. Jalal al-Din moved to Parwan, 50 miles north of Kabul, Afghanistan, where he awaited the inevitable battle. Kutaku decided not to wait for the orders of their Khan and engaged the enemy. At Parwan, the two sides met in a narrow valley, unsuitable for cavalry maneuvers.
See, this is very smart on the prince's side too, because if I'm not mistaken, it's I don't know, obviously it's not well known, but to us now, I think it's well known that the Mongols they don't dismount. You know what I'm saying? That's like their main bread and butter. They just don't dismount. They're all about horses. So to get them in a terrain that is not suitable to cavalry would be your best bet, because otherwise you're going to get slaughtered.
Unsuitable for cavalry maneuvers. Jalal al-Din took the initiative, ordering his right wing of Turks to dismount and engage in a skirmish, pouring arrows onto the Mongols. His archers were winning the skirmish, as the dismounted archers were more accurate and deadly than the mounted ones. Both sides held their ground until the following morning, when the Afghan warriors noticed the Mongol army was being reinforced. This alarmed the commanders, but Jalal al-Din calmed his officers and, instead of retreating, ordered his entire line to dismount and engage. In reality, the Mongols had put straw men on the usual 3 to 4 spare horses they had with them as a bluff.
Which is, and it's funny too, because I think that's been a tactic in military for I don't know how long, just that deception. And it's crazy if who knows if the Mongols started that, you know what I'm saying? Because this is almost 1,000 years before, say, the fake tanks in World War II and all that other stuff. But
spare horses they had with them as a bluff. Seeing the entire line dismounted, Kutaku ordered his horsemen to attack the Afghan left wing with a barrage of arrows, but they were repelled by the unwavering archers. Then the Mongols charged along the entire front. Hard pressed by the rough, narrow terrain, which rendered the usual tricks of feigned retreat and encirclement impossible, the famous Mongol discipline disintegrated for the very first time against a foreign foe, as the riders faced the arrows of the numerically superior force head-on. At this point, the Mongols began to retreat, and Jalal...
Now this was very impressive battle and win that we obviously know is going to be countered by Genghis Khan and all that. But we also have to look at it, because I'm not sure if the prince and his army are using these type of bows, but we also have to remember the Mongols are using composite bows, which at the time were the top elite bows, like, period. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's as good as it gets, you know what I'm saying? So the fact that they're able to outdo them with the most elite equipment is still pretty good, you know what I'm saying? But let's go ahead and get back into it.
The Mongols began to retreat, and Jalal al-Din saw his chance. He ordered his men to remount and counterattack. Half of the Mongol army was obliterated, while the other half escaped. This defeat broke the illusion of Mongol invincibility, and the cities who had peacefully surrendered rose up in arms, which forced Genghis and his son Tuluy to spend extra months subduing the revolts. But the army of the Khwarezmian prince started to fall into discord immediately after the victory. Left with only 20,000 men, Jalal al-Din headed for the Indus River to find refuge in India. The great Khan immediately made his way to Parwan. After a 2-day race across Punjab, Genghis Khan caught up to Jalal al-Din at the Indus River just before.
Yeah, so that's what makes the Mongol horde just so scary. The fact that you gotta remember, they're on horseback, so they can cover a lot of area really fast. And on top of that, like I said, they're using the top elite bows of their time, the composite bow. And on top of that, the Mongols also did their own type of things to this bow to make it even better. Like they dip it in a fish glue for like 4 or 6 months or something like that to make it even more strong and flexible, making it, like, you know what I'm saying? So this is a very scary army in its time, for sure.
Just before the prince was able to cross. The Mongols rested for the rest of the day, and at dawn charged the enemy, pressed up against the river while their flank was covered by the mountain. The initial charge was repelled, and Jalal al-Din ordered a counterattack, which nearly broke the Mongol army. Genghis then sent his reserve of 10,000 around the mountain to flank Jalal al-Din's army. With his forces attacked from 2 directions and collapsing into chaos, Jalal al-Din decided to escape. Following the victory, Genghis sent one of his commanders along with 20,000 men to chase down the prince, but the prince was nowhere to be found.
If only the prince would have been able to do another counter of his own to counter that counter. Even that sounds redundant as a mug. But, you know, just whatever, anything that helps other than just charging, because if we've learned anything from all of our videos that we put out, charging head first does nothing but kill your own soldiers. But yeah.
Regardless, most of the Khwarezmian territory was annexed, and its Shah died on an island in the Caspian Sea. As for its people, it is said that the Mongols reduced the population of this prosperous region to 200,000 from the initial 2 million. The Mongol invasion of Asia was just starting. While creating this documentary, we used the series of lectures called The Barbarian Empires of the...
Alright guys, we'll go ahead and stop right there. Yeah, that really makes you think, like, where would we be as a world civilization without these type of conquests, these type of you know, things that happen around the world that just took out these whole population, like 2 million down to 200,000. That's the equivalent of us in America going from like what? I think we're in 100 million or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't pay attention to stuff like that. But I'm just gonna throw out a number: 100 million down to like freaking 1 million. Like that's ridiculous. Like that's nothing. You know what I'm saying? It must have been so quiet and so empty. But anyway, like I said, thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Micah's Intellectual Corner. Please, in my next episode, I will be figuring out what video I'm going to be coming out with next. Please don't forget to check out my shorts video. I'll see you guys out.